Hello you guys, welcome back to the Lightford house. If you're new here, my name is Hope. I am a mom of two and a wife, and I do a lot of cooking and cleaning, organizing type videos. So today we have a good one here for you. We're doing oxtails with red beans and rice in the Instant Pot. Alright, so this recipe is a little bit time consuming. You do want to start these the day before you plan on eating them. So what you're going to do is open your oxtails. You're going to rinse them off and wash them in cold water, get all the blood off of them. And then you're going to soak them overnight in vinegar and lime juice. Now this doesn't have exact measurements. You just want to pour in a little bit of vinegar, lime juice. You can use fresh lime juice, which is what I normally do, about the juice of 2 limes. But today all I have is the squeezy lime juice, so that's what I'm going to use. So after you clean these off, just put them in a container. A Tupperware, a bowl, something like that that has a lid, and you want to put some vinegar and lime juice in and then kind of shake them up to coat them and let them sit in the fridge overnight. Alright you guys, we're back. It's the next day, and right now I'm soaking some red beans, some dry beans here, in some water. We're going to cook these up in the Instant Pot later, so you want to go ahead and soak your beans. Alright, I've got a seedless orange here, and what we're going to do is use this orange kind of as a sponge to clean our oxtails with. If you don't have an orange, you can skip that step and just rinse them off. Scrub them off, and then we're going to place them in a clean bowl. Now these oxtail were soaking overnight in our vinegar and lime juice. So just turn on the cold water and use this as a sponge. Just kind of scrub them off and go into a clean bowl. And repeat this process until they're all clean. And then we're going to marinate these in the fridge for a couple hours. Okay, this is what our orange is looking like once we're done scrubbing all of these. So we're just going to discard the orange. Alright, you guys, it's time to get our beans going. So I've dumped out the water that these were soaking in. And I'm going to put them in my 3-quart Instant Pot. And we're going to add some water. We're going to cover the beans. And the only thing that we're going to add to the water is some salt. So I have filled the Instant Pot with water where it's almost to the max line here. And what we're going to do, we want to get plenty of water in there because we're actually going to cook our rice in the liquid that we cook the beans in. So we're going to add some salt. We want to season this up really good. Add quite a bit of salt in there. We're going to put a lid on, and I'm going to hit the bean chili button. Alright, we've got the lid on. We're going to put this into sealing. And I'm just going to hit the bean chili button. It's got 25 minutes there. And we're just going to let that go. Alright, so our oxtails have been cleaned. I've put them in a clean bowl here. And now we're going to go ahead and make the marinade that's going to go over the top of these. For our marinade, we're going to use some of this browning seasoning. You can find this in your spice aisle of your grocery store. It's for later. You're going to need some garlic powder, some oregano, some Italian seasoning, Creole seasoning. The beef bouillon is for later as well. Some salt and some pepper. If you don't have garlic powder, or if you're almost out like I am, have just a little bit left there, you can also use some minced garlic, which I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put some minced garlic in there with it. And if you have onion powder, you could also add that in. I do not have any on hand, so I'm gonna leave that out. But we're gonna go ahead and start getting this marinade together. All right, first thing I'm gonna do is put some browning sauce in, and there's no direct measurements. I'm just gonna use up the rest of this because I didn't have much left anyway. Just pour that in over the top. Then we're gonna go in with the garlic powder, and I'm just gonna use up the rest of the garlic powder here. Italian seasoning, if you don't have Italian seasoning, you could use parsley flakes. That would work just fine. A little bit of oregano. Creole seasoning. And then lastly, salt and pepper, and I'm gonna throw in some minced garlic since I didn't have a lot of garlic powder. Black pepper in there. I have a gigantic minced garlic container from Sam's Club, so I'm just gonna add some minced garlic in there. The more the merrier, so just go with however much you want to add in. Now we're just going to give this a big stir. Get everything mixed and combined here. Get that browning sauce all over the oxtails. I want these to be well coated. Alright you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and wash and cut up these 2 russet potatoes. I'm going to peel and chop up these 3 carrots, and then I'm going to cut up this onion, just dice it into small pieces. If you have baby carrots and you'd prefer to use those instead, then you won't have to do any peeling and cutting up of carrots. You could just dump in some baby carrots if that's what you have. Alright, I've cut my potatoes up into good sized pieces because these are going to be pressure cooked and we don't want them to turn to mush, so you do want to keep them pretty good size. Alright you guys, we have 1 minute left on the beans. Once this goes off, I'm going to go ahead and turn the Instant Pot off and unplug it. And I'm just going to let it naturally release, which means I'm going to do nothing. Just let the pressure release on its own. And then we'll get started on our oxtails, which I'm going to be cooking in my 6-quart Instant Pot. Alright, the beans are turned off. They're over there just sitting in the Instant Pot, and now we're going to go to our 6-quart, or you could use an 8-quart Instant Pot for this. And we're just going to put some olive oil down in the bottom. You just want to put enough in there to coat the bottom of your pot because we are going to have to sear our oxtails. So once that's done, we're going to come down to the control panel and hit the saute button and let it start heating up so that we can just sear our oxtail. Alright, we're going to start putting these in. You want to hear that sizzle when you put them in there. It lets you know the oil is hot enough. Just going to let these sear a couple minutes on each side. And you're going to have to do this in batches, depending on how many oxtails you have. Also, I wanted to mention, some people do trim the fat off of their oxtail, like before they even soak them or anything, but I didn't trim mine. You don't have to trim yours. Just flipping these over so they can saute on each side. And once these are done, I'm going to remove them to a tray. You can remove them to a plate or whatever you want to do. Just set them to the side till we finish all of them. Alright, so once they're all seared, and we're gonna add a little bit of water in here because we don't want this to burn onto the bottom. A little bit of water in there, and we need to deglaze the bottom with like a spatula to get all the good bits off the bottom of the pot. You're just gonna scrape everything off the bottom. You don't want to get a burn notice for having something stuck to the bottom of your pot. And also just want to mention, I did hit the cancel button to turn the pot off after these were done sauteing, and I took them all out. So just scrape up all the bits off the bottom there that you can get. Now we're going to put our meat back into the Instant Pot, and we're going to top it with the vegetables. Alright, we've got our oxtail back in the pot. And what we're going to do now, we're going to add a little bit more water because the pot needs to come to pressure. And then I'm going to throw in some more seasonings on top of the meat. Then we're going to put our vegetables in, add some more seasoning, and then we're going to pressure cook. So I added maybe another half cup of water in there. We want at least about a cup of water in there so that it will pressure cook. I've added 1 beef bouillon cube on top. So it just comes in a package like this. Added some more oregano. So we're just basically adding some of the same seasonings that we used for the marinade. A bit of Italian seasoning. Some Creole seasoning in there. I'm not going to add any more salt or pepper right now. I'll add some of that on top of the vegetables. So we're going to go in with our potatoes, carrots, and our onion, and then we're going to top it off. I usually use cannellini beans, but I didn't have any, so I'm just going to use some Great Northern beans that I've drained. I have our carrots, potatoes, and onions on top. I added more Italian seasoning, salt, pepper, and some Creole seasoning on top. And as you can see, this pot is very full. It's filled above the max line at this point, so if you wanted to use an 8-quart pot, you could, just really depending on how many oxtail you have. Now I'm going to dump in the can of beans right over the top. Alright, we've got the beans on top. Now we're going to put our lid on, and we're going to pressure cook this on manual, or you could use your pressure cook button if you're using a duo model. And we're going to cook these for about 1 hour and 20 minutes. Come on down to the control panel. We're going to go manual, and we're going to hit the plus button all the way until we get to 1 hour and 20 minutes. Now if you make this in the crock pot, you would do the same thing, except you would be cooking for 8 hours. So this is 80, that's 1 hour and 20 minutes, and we're just going to let it go. Alright, now we're going to start on our rice and beans. I've got the liner for the 3-quart Instant Pot pulled out. We're going to, I've put some olive oil into a pot. We're going to heat this up, and we're going to scoop out our beans with a slotted spoon and put them in this oil after it's heated up with a little bit of garlic, salt and pepper, and some Creole seasoning. And then we're going to measure out our rice. I'm going to do 2 cups of dry uncooked rice. I'm going to rinse it and put about 3 cups of this liquid in with the rice, and that's what we're going to cook it in. Alright, so we've got our beans. I've turned it down a little bit, turned the heat down a little bit. It was on medium high, so now it's just kind of a little bit lower than medium here. And I've put some salt, pepper, garlic, and some Creole seasoning in here. Just giving this a little stir. Next, I'm going to go ahead and measure out my liquid out of here that I'm going to use. And I'm going to add it into my pot. So I'm going to do about 3 cups of this water to 2 cups of uncooked rice. And if you need some more liquid, if you don't have enough in here, you could just use some regular water. But we're going to add this liquid in, and it is still hot. Add the liquid right in here, then we're going to turn it up on high heat so that it can come up to a boil. And while that's coming up to a boil, I'm going to rinse my uncooked rice and get it ready to add into this pot. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and scoop out 2 cups of long grain rice and just put it in this little strainer here so that I can rinse it. And you want to rinse it until the water runs clear. Alright, our liquid came up to a boil, so I've added my rinsed rice in there, and I'm just going to stir this around. and we're gonna let this cook. We're gonna turn this down to a medium heat and let it cook for about 15 minutes or so. All right, so we're checking this. It looks like it has absorbed most of the water. And if you want to see if it's done, you can just give it a taste and see if the rice is still crunchy or if it is softened. If it's not soft enough, just let it go for a little bit longer. When your rice is finished cooking, go ahead and taste it for salt or pepper, and don't skimp out on the garlic in this because it really adds a lot of flavor. If you don't have minced garlic, you could use garlic powder in its place, and you could even put onion powder or whatever seasonings you like in here, but definitely at least make sure that you're putting some garlic, salt, and pepper in there. All right, so I did add a touch more of salt and black pepper to mine, and it's still on low. I have not turned the stove top off yet. So once it's done cooking and it's seasoned to how you want it to be, go ahead and just turn it off and leave it covered, sitting on the stove to take it off of the heat. Our oxtails have about 12 minutes left, and then I'm going to plate it up and show you the final product. Alright, so the Instant Pot is done. We're going to go ahead and hit the cancel button and turn it off. And now we're just going to do a quick release, which means we're going to go ahead and release the pressure from the pot, and then it will be ready to serve. Alright guys, we got the fine china here as usual, but here's our plate. We put down our rice and beans, and you put the oxtail, carrots, potatoes, and onion over top, and try to get a little bit of that broth in there on top of the rice. Alright, so be sure to try this recipe. Let me know if you do try it, and if you like it, give this video a thumbs up. If you're new here, I'd love to have you as a part of my YouTube family, so please hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.